All right, everyone. Welcome to the interview diaries. This is Nicole Garbellini, and this is CNC COVID and Cigarettes interviews with Michael Donohue from It Is What It Is. Okay, so Michael, welcome. How are you today?
I'm doing wonderful, Nicole. Thank you for having me. So excited.
Thank, thank you. Thank you so much for your time and for being with us today.
Oh, my
So,
pleasure.
so how are things for you these days? What's going on? Tell us.
Oh, what's going on? Well, we're in quarantine. I guess it's what's going on here is what's going on. Well, we're being told to be in quarantine. People aren't really following what they're supposed to be doing, of course. So, things aren't good in the U.S. Um, Hopefully, shortly, when somebody leaves, and we get some new leadership uh, going on, that people will start maybe listening and not thinking about themselves, thinking about their neighbors for once. So we'll see. But
Fingers crossed.
yeah, I'm just really excited about being here and COVID and cigarettes.
Yes. So tell us, like, what we want to know about what inspired you to write It Is What It Is, which is like an incredibly funny play within the
Thank
CNC
you.
collection. And without spoiling the surprise, of course, for those who haven't seen it yet, we want to know what inspired you to write it, even though I kind of have an idea already, but we want to hear it from you. Tell us.
Um, I guess being from New York, obviously, that had something to where the setting came from, um, in my mind. But it was honestly it was the theme. I saw COVID and cigarettes, just going around Twitter, always looking for, where can I submit, where can I get ideas to write something new. It's and then a few times, I passed by COVID and cigarettes, and then it would always bring me back to when COVID first hit, to when another brain, I don't know if he was affiliated with Trump, said that nicotine helps fight COVID. So and it was actually, they were writing articles about this, and then it made me laugh, and I give COVID a say, okay, and then I see it again, and I'm like, huh, and it just then I thought of a talk show because we're always being bombarded. I was CNN, Fox News, everything with the COVID and the politics. So I thought it would be, just a good way to get a little comedy over, make people laugh in their quarantine, and I I didn't want to make it like Oprah, but I didn't want to make it like Jerry Springer either. So that I think that was the most difficult part was finding like that even. I wanted her to be even keel, kind of, that smart, sarcastic, and just putting them in the men in their place where they should be with their
The,
dumb ideas.
the characters, the characters are so funny. The character themselves, like so New York as well. Wh- I was the one picking the scripts, and I was reading it, and I envisioned New York like I didn't even know where you were from, but reading like after like three lines, I was like, okay, this is so New York. I, I gathered that immediately, and it's really funny. You have Rolanda, who is the host of the show. You have Dr. Nick, you have Phil Morris, and you have Dr. Nick's mother.
She was she was actually a last minute character. I don't even think she was in the original draft. Um,
Really? You added
it's
her
just
later.
yeah, because I was having problems trying to figure out how to do a good closure, and to make it comedic, which sometimes can be difficult. I mean, comedy in itself is difficult. but
Yeah.
so much fun when it does come together. Though that rare occasions, you know, you have one that comes together and the 10 that are in the trash. But yeah, and then it was just I just when I grew up in Brooklyn, you know, we were in a two-family house, and our landlords were Italians who spoke very little English, and they were very loud. And we were
God.
this, you know, we were all Irish. Our last name Donohue, so we're having all these drunken Irish parties every weekend on top of them, and all these Italians making the sausage and the peppers and screaming at each other in Italian. So I thought of her as the mother, and she was just it's still on my head. You know, when she speaks fast, yelling, and
it's like the Italians outside of Italy are ways more Italians than the Italians.
Oh, really?
Oh, gosh.
So in the United States, they're more Italian than in Italy. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. No, absolutely. Same as Australia.
Really?
Yeah.
That is so interesting.
Yes. I'm Italian. I'm from the north. So the majority of those who immigrated in the US or UK or Australia or other places for that matter would be mostly from the south. Because especially like after the war, the country was quite divided, and whilst the north was doing a little bit better, the south was in dire straits. So a lot of people decided to leave to seek for better opportunities.
Right.
And of course, like some of them had small children with them who went to a new place, and they grew up with the traditions, language, and culture of that place.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but they always kept like the tradition from the nonno, from papa, from mama, from all these guys. And the thing is, in the north of Italy, especially, you don't like you talk in a certain way. You know, you don't shout, you don't use your hands, you try not to be too vocal, too out there, especially if you're from Milan. So Milan is Germany, basically. For a lot of people, when I say, oh, I'm from Milan, you're German. You're not Italian. Okay?
Wow.
Sure. Kind of am ancestry, like great-grandparents, but okay, sure. But yeah, I remember I lived in Australia. And some people would say, oh, you're Italian, from where? From the north, mostly Milan. And they go, oh, I'm Italian too. And they start speaking Sicilian. They start speaking with the dialect from Calabria. I have no idea what they're saying. I'm like, can we go back to English, please? Like, I don't understand. And the shouting, the screaming, the hey, che cazzo, you know, all this thing. I'm like, yeah, that's very like, you can take the guy out of Italy, but you can't take Italy out of the guy. So, and maybe because like they left many years ago, especially like they were forced to, because Italy is a beautiful country, but if you are forced to leave because there are no opportunities there, or there are no there's no work and stuff, you know, you go where you can make a living for you, your family. And of course, like it's you miss your roots, you miss where you're from. So I think like there is a certain sense of belonging, like to be so out there, to be so vocal about it. So yeah, it always made me curious, like
I mean, I totally agree. Especially from a different country. I mean, I feel out of place here, just moving from a different state, which is kind of similar, I think, to what you're talking about with Italy, with the northern, with the dialects and everything else. I mean, I'm in Indiana here, and I'm coming from New York, and I can't even open my mouth. And they, like, you know, like, what are you doing here? You know, it's a small town in Indiana, because they think, you know, New York is where you're supposed to leave here and go to New York, not go to New York and come here. You know, but it's funny. You know? So funny. You know, I've told people I'm in, you know, the witness protection program and all sorts of stupid stuff. And then they actually believed me. These people I used to work with. But.
Nice. So okay, so that was your Italian experience. That's always fascinating to hear. So tell us, what was like, how was it to work with the cast and director? Because let's say that the only New Yorkers were you and Roger Simon,
Mhm.
one of the actors in the play. That was the New York connection, New York
Yeah.
slash
Oh, he
Miami.
was great. Yeah, yeah.
It was,
They were all
yes,
great. But yeah. Oh,
everybody.
it was actually it was wonderful. Christy, she did such a great job. I mean, even with just with communicating with me, and you know, it's just stuff that she really didn't have to do. You know, the director can just take it and not even, you know, they didn't. But it was really nice, just to have her, you know, contact me and ask me for some input, and I sat in on the rehearsals, which was really cool. And you know, again, asked me my opinion, and you know, everybody voted, and it was just such a nice collaborative experience. And then she would keep me up to date. Hey, you know, all excited. Hey, you know, anybody, well, you know, we're doing this and emails, and then you know, the countdown was coming when it was coming out. So it was just so well done, well put together, and I really have to applaud everybody involved in the whole, because not only, you know, mine, but there was how many? I think 10, 11 more. So it was, you know, it's a lot of work, and you know, a lot of actors, a lot of collaboration. And you're like, yeah, no,
Yeah.
quiet, but nah, but it really was. And Christy, I even spoke to her a little bit afterwards, and you know, just thanking her and emailing, you know, back and forth, just you know, and saying that you know it'd be great to you know, to work together again, you know, if possible. So
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Um, I think it was like a very, like, you know, of course, like when you're a producer, the producer of this whole thing, you've got a lot to handle, lots on your plate and stuff. So at some point when you guys were rehearsing your piece, I was like, well, you know, directors work with playwrights, you know, they work with the actors, they're all together, you have like a certain amount of time to rehearse. I don't think you need to breathe me to breathe down your neck or anything. But when I heard Christy and your team speaking about it, they were like, oh yeah, yeah, no problem. No, yeah, it's cool. Yeah, easy. Yeah, no worries. Relaxed. Yeah. Okay, great. That's all I need to hear.
that's when you really start worrying, right?
Yeah, no, because we had a lot to work, a lot of work to do. So we were very grateful for, like, you know, like they were like all the teams pretty much knew what they were doing and everything, but especially like they knew the teams from New York, they were in charge of their own filming, so that made things even easier.
Oh,
Happy for you. BRB, they were like, oh no, we're onto this, don't worry, we'll send everything to you and you just add the captions, you just add the titles, that's it.
great.
Sweet, easy, thank you guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it was very nice to hear that you guys gelled so well together and worked really well together.
It's just one of those things that sometimes, you know, it just works. You know, everything just comes together. You know,
Yeah,
which is
yeah,
really
yeah,
great.
yeah. And when you watched like your final cut, because you watched it on YouTube when it was out,
Mm.
what did you think?
Oh, I mean, I just laughed. You know, it's sometimes it's kind of surreal seeing your words being spoken. You know, by something, you know, a different voice than
Yeah.
what's in here, and it's I mean it's kind of hard to describe.
Mm.
Um, it's I don't, but um, I laughed, which was a good thing because I do know when things, you know, but if I write something and you know, I'll be laughing at it one time and then no, this is terrible. But when the director has kind of like the same vision that I envisioned,
Mm.
which Christy did, even down to some of the mannerisms that I envisioned, um, it really made me feel you know, feel good, and it was just, you know, just all
That's
around good experience.
that's great. That's good. Yeah. If you haven't watched it yet, you should definitely watch It Is What It Is, because You know, it's a very fun comedy, but you should also watch all the others. So yeah, COVID and cigarettes. There we go. So please make sure you catch them. So,
Sure.
Michael, what are you working on at the moment? Of course, like you've been very active because, like, you had your first play, The Quiet Room, which was
Mhm.
produced in 2016
Mhm.
by Chaos Theatre Company, and they also produced. Other work of yours. It was a trilogy: The Pence Wars, um, and Sarah. And yes.
Yeah, well, Sarah was actually recently a monologue I did. It was for the Feminist Club for IUPUC, um, my alma mater. Um, Actually, when I came here from New York, I enrolled in IU. I went back to school and got myself an education, and which is really great. And so, they had this being involved with IU for so many years. They needed some help with monologues to help battered women and everything else. So this playwriting club that I belong to in Indianapolis, we all got together and we put together some monologues to help them out to get the word out, especially now during the quarantine. People don't realize there are people that are in this quarantine, unfortunately, that are being abused, and it's on top of all this. It's something that you don't want to think about, but unfortunately, we have to. And it was a great cause. But yeah. So anyway, I just wrote it was a monologue, and it was on their website for a while, and it helped out a lot. So that was a lot of fun. And
Mhm.
I have a new Christmas show coming out. You could be streaming starting tomorrow.
Oh, great.
Yeah. It
Cool.
was supposed to be live. It's called The Not So Silent Night. It's the Westfield Playhouse in Indianapolis. So what they did was they had to cancel the live performances, obviously, and
Mhm.
they filmed it live, under all the precautions and everything else. And now it's going to be streamed starting tomorrow. It's going to be my play, which I said, A Not So Silent Night, and four other plays, short plays, 10 minutes, and they're all good family Christmas fun plays. So if you get a chance, um, check it out.
Okay. Sounds good. Yes, will do. So, of course, like the situation is like very quiet right now. We can't go back to the stage anytime soon. Definitely not in Hong Kong. Um, and of course, like other parts of the world suffer the same fate. But what are you working on? Like, is there anything you're working on at the moment, or that you'd like to stage in the next year somehow, like whether online or face to face?
Um, there's quite a bit. I've done quite a bit of, I hate to say it, but I I've enjoyed my time in quarantine.
Never.
Um,
Don't
just
blame you.
just I mean, just from a writer's perspective, I
Yeah.
kind of made a decision that this is it. You got to get you know it's get writing, and so that's what I did. So I have several plays that a lot of short plays that I put together, and I've been sending them out. I have one. It's kind of my tribute to Beckett. I wrote. It's called Jax. That's one that I really like to see produced. It's a one act play. It's about 30 minutes. Um, I just finished that. Um, there's also I did I actually spoke to Christy about this. I did an adaptation to the Bell Jar, Sylvia Plath's The Bell Jar,
Mhm.
and that's a big. I don't want to say extravaganza, but it would be a large production. Down I don't know if that down the road, but that's my fantasy, because that's one of my favorite books. Um, and when I wrote that adaptation, I did it for my capstone, Karate, and it's just something I'm very proud of. And I think it would be, they have done so many adaptations to that book, and they are god awful. Every one of them, they really are. We actually showed it in class how awful they were, and we were all laughing. And it's gotten some positive feedback from some real Plathians, and so I'm trying to get that going too. So.
Okay. Well, since you and Christy talked, I want to talk as well. So we'll meet later.
Absolutely.
Because I don't think we're gonna go back to the stage anytime soon, and it's a shame because, like, I don't know. I know that I'm leaving Hong Kong in the next 8 months, maybe 7 months. I'm relocating to the UK actually. So yeah, so I would have loved to do another show in Hong Kong, but on stage, but I don't think it's possible. So I think like the only way I have to keep this alive and going is to do productions online, either streamed or otherwise. But I think it works. It's becoming more and more acceptable, and also like it breaks the geographical barrier.
Yeah,
you can
absolutely.
work with whatever people you want. So radio plays or Zoom plays or like,
yeah,
why not?
it's it might be the next thing. I mean, we don't know. I mean, Zoom and everything else, I'm seeing more and more, write this, but it has to be, suitable for Zoom. I mean, it's, people have to make money too. I mean, it comes down to, and people want to perform. So,
Yeah.
I mean, and it's, who knows? I mean, we might as well use it,
Yeah,
if we can.
exactly. Exactly.
I think, and you can have a lot of fun with it too. There's no reason why we can't.
We got to adapt. Sorry.
Exactly. That's
While
life.
you adapt, have fun. Absolutely.
Exactly.
Yes. Okay, so let's talk about COVID-19. And you are in Indiana, which is like quite a red state. How are things there? And how are you affected? In what way COVID-19 affected you?
Well, I think Indiana is the worst state per capita right now, per person that has COVID in the whole United States. So that tells you how we're doing here. People are still denying it. I don't know. They're refusing to wear masks. They refuse not to, the social gatherings, and they're not closing things down. The governor just even, what was it, before the election, he just opened everything up, of course, because it's a red state and that's what people wanted. And then once he just opened it up, it just got that's when the spikes hit. And then after the election is when he started closing things up. And it's so sad that a pandemic had to become politicized. And the result now, I mean, I think the United States just went over 300,000 deaths. And, and I do blame Trump in many ways. I think all that man had to say was wear a mask. And I think maybe, 200,000 people might be alive today. But, it's scary that one man has that kind of power too. But,
well, yeah, it is. Were you planning, like you mentioned you were planning a reading at the theater? Were you planning something? One of your plays was meant to be read at the theater, but it's going streaming now. It's streaming.
Yes, that's my Christmas show. That was a not so silent night.
Right.
Yeah, that's gonna be that was one too. I'm really proud of that one. That was so much fun to write.
Okay, I look forward to watching it then. Like, okay, I don't want to.
Yes.
I want to see it. I don't want to miss it.
Please do. Excuse me.
How long will it be on for?
I'm not 100% certain. I will email you when I found out.
Okay.
Definitely. But I know it's starting tomorrow. You'll be
Awesome.
able to share. Yeah. So it's Westfield Playhouse. It's on my Twitter page too. I have that on
Okay.
my Facebook page too.
Cool.
But,
I'll check it. I'll find you. No problem.
yeah.
Good, good. So when this is all over, when COVID is over, we don't know when, but eventually will be over. What will you do? What is the first thing you want to do after COVID is over?
I like to go to the movies or see a show, one or the other. I mean, I film was my first love before theater. I mean, I love them both. But I think it's natural, just from when growing up, TV and everything else. I think it's film, and then it gradually goes over to theater. I also went to film school too.
Okay.
So yeah, but yeah, I mean, I would just like to, just to go out with my girlfriend and just have a night, and a peaceful night out, among friends and people, where you don't have to worry about protesters,
Yeah.
somebody coming up behind you, and all this stupid stuff that's going on.
Mm-hmm. I hear you. I miss traveling. Like in Hong Kong, we're so spoiled. We're like the most spoiled breed of people that there can be in the world. Like Hong Kong versus Singapore. Like we're same thing.
I'm jealous. I mean, you go to Hong Kong, Singapore, Australia, Italy. I mean, it took me 30 years just to leave Brooklyn. I mean,
That's the thing. Why would you leave Brooklyn? Why would you leave New York?
Well, that's what I'm saying. You don't have to leave the block. You got everything you need on there.
You got the best place. I love New York. New York is my favorite place in the world. If I could choose where to live in the world, I would live in New York. Even if the winter is absolutely brutal. Oh Lord, last time I was in New York in February.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Ooh, ooh.
Yeah. I do miss it. I do miss it a lot. Hopefully I'll be able to get back. Once I write that Tony-winning play and get it produced. Yeah.
Yeah, you're going.
So yeah, you have to produce it. So come on, we got.
Yeah. Well, absolutely. We'll start first. Yeah. So no, like we are very, very spoiled here, and we are like close to everything. Like Hong Kong is a small island, so basically wherever you want to go, you need to take mostly a plane. If you can take a train and go to China, you can take a boat, go to Macau, or drive. Now we can drive to it. Well, we can't go, but we can drive. But because we have like places like Thailand, Vietnam, very, very, and others, of course, Malaysia, very close to us, we just jump on a plane and in 2 hours we're everywhere, like for the weekend or for like a small vacation or like for a long weekend. And it's been a year that we are stuck here, like in this town without going anywhere. But
how is it affecting you? I mean, how are you guys holding on?
We cope with that. Look at the bright side. You're forced to use your time more productively. You're saving money. And, to be fair, as much as I like traveling, I do stress out a little bit because I need to always organize a lot of things. So I stress out less, put it that way. But it'd be nice to be able to travel again someday. Yes. And I want to come back to New York. I haven't been there in 5 years. So
yeah, me too. It's been about 6 years now. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's been a while. Well, my family's kind of scattered. My mother and sister are down in Florida.
Okay.
And my brother's still in New York.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But it's been busy since I've been here. Like I said, I went back to school and working and writing and everything else. So it's been, and then this. So it's been
Yeah, we use the time productively. Like, we needed a show. I'm like, right, it's 2020. We only had one. Like, it doesn't exist in the history of Aurora Theatre to have one show. Actually, kind of does. We've done that. Because last year, we also experienced the protests in Hong Kong.
In Hong Kong,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Protests against the security law, against the, whatever the government threw out there. People were really unhappy and stuff. So uh, from June last year, that's when the full-on protests started. And we had our last show in April 2019, and then we wanted to do something later, the second part of the year, and we couldn't because everything was putting on hold, cancelled, shut down. People could not travel from A to B. So nobody wanted to commit to rehearsals if you couldn't reach places.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was intense. So Hong Kong has seen 2 years of.
So it's been, I was going to say, yeah, it's been 2 years.
Yeah, exactly. It's not just COVID. It was what was before that. Mind you, Hong Kong has always been very organized, very peaceful, very, and run in a certain way. So of course, like there were areas when the protests exploded, and that was like really not wise to go there because of police people fighting, tear gas, pallet thrones, like not fun. But on the other hand, for those who bravely decided to travel to Hong Kong, it was actually fine. It wasn't life threatening or anything. And a lot of people said, oh no, I'm taking advantage of now that the prices are lower, cheaper, and it's still good to go. But there were places like restaurants, bars, they were shut down because there were like huge protests outside their premises, and it was not safe. They sprayed tear gas just outside the door, so you can't have the doors open and have people eating al fresco. So there you go.
Yeah, that's not a good mix.
Yeah. So, no. So Hong Kong has seen a bit of like rough time over the last 2 years, year and a half. Yeah. We'll see. So, okay, let's talk about plays and playwrights. Do you have a favorite play or a favorite playwright that inspires you, or that you like, or you like the work?
I don't know if there's one. I mean, it depends on my mood. I mean, I like all type of genres. I mean, no matter what. That goes with books, plays, movies. Um, I am sure everybody says Beckett. I mean, how can't you love Beckett? I mean, I've learned so much just by reading. I mean, The End Game is probably one of my favorite plays. Tennessee Williams, um, Streetcar.
Yeah.
I love Tennessee Williams because of his. I love female protagonists or antagonists. I'd rather write female characters than males. I think they're more interesting. Males are very one-dimensional, in my opinion. And Tennessee Williams just wrote, I mean, some of the most fantastic female characters ever. And I think Miller too. I think the three plays that I probably studied and touched me the most would be Endgame, Streetcar, and Death of a Salesman.
Okay.
Would probably be just especially from characters, perspective. Beckett more dialogue. I like to read Beckett and Miller, and I've been reading James. I've been reading Ulysses my whole life, so I haven't finished it, but I will. And I think when you're trying to learn dialogue, it's always about cutting, minimalist, and I think that's, even I still make mistakes too. I think, you rush your submitting. I just did that, and I paid the price, and I knew it after I sent it in. And I just got rejected. But that's part of the game, you know. So yeah, I mean, but those I think would be my three most inspirational.
Yeah. And among your work, like that, let's think about your work. Is there anything that you are the most proud of?
Well, I mean, this was really one of my most proud. Definitely was my proud. I mean, just it really was. I mean, that's. But I think everything. I think a writer has to be proud of everything. I mean, if you can start, if you get to a point A to point B, and you can bang out a first draft, you give yourself a pat on the back. I think we're way too hard on each other, on ourselves. I think it's just a very difficult process, and by putting things in, I guess, in perspective. Losing my train of thought a little bit here, but we'll move on. Save me.
Sorry, which one? What's that?
I don't know. I would probably say it is what it is, and then I would like to see that this Christmas Story. See what happens with this. But
you love all your children equally, right?
Yes. There you go. Sum it up. Thank you, Nicole. That's
right.
That's it.
But maybe deep down you do have a favorite child.
Yes.
We all do. I think, like, for playwrights, it's different because it's a different approach, of course. Like, you create the whole thing, but then you decide your involvement. Whereas you're a director, you're super involved. It's so hands-on. So of course, like, you give everything, and then you give everything whenever you put something on. But then, like, which one resonates the most? Perhaps because you are in a time of your life that something happened, or because you are emotionally attached to the story, or because who knows. But yeah, it's
that can also be dangerous too sometimes. I think, yes, getting too emotionally attached to something. That's happened to me too. I think, and you got to be careful with that. I think in my playwright circle, we always meet, once a week, and I don't say it, but I do see, I mean, a lot of playwrights, making the same mistakes that I made, and still do make. And, it's just, and you really want to say something, but you can't. I hate getting involved in other people's work because I don't, I just say great job and everything. No. Especially when you're doing drafts. Just write it, man. Great job. Keep going. You don't need my input. But but I think just having a support system is good too. As far as when you're trying to get your work out there, so, which I think that made a big difference for me this year. Was joining this playwright circle on Zoom too, which I never would have been able to join because it's in Indianapolis if it wasn't for the quarantine. So they used to do it. They used to meet in Indianapolis, and I would never have joined because I wouldn't be driving, 2 hours on a Monday night, to go up there and back. So when they did it on Zoom, I joined. And it made a big difference in my writing because we meet every week. And it was forcing me to put out work because, I'm a writer, I'm lazy. I'll procrastinate until, the due date, and then I'll just manically write.
Yeah,
10 pages.
Deadlines make a difference.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think to answer your question from before about the quarantine, yeah, I think that was probably thank God for that, for the Playwright Center, because they really did help me out, because it does, you're sitting here, in four walls and you're writing, it's good to have that outlet and to have your other peers too. And they do readings for you too, and they read your stuff. The actors come on,
Oh,
and
that's nice.
it really does. It really,
Workshop.
it really helps.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, big time. I mean, I with this Christmas play, they I put the first draft up, and they had the actors acting out, and then they give you your feedback and everything else, and I fixed it, and it was accepted, so it worked.
That's very helpful. Yeah. In fact, like it's a bit what I wanted to do, because like normally in Hong Kong, what we do is sometimes we do have original plays, and sometimes, but most of the times we don't. So what I personally do, I buy scripts from dramatists or whatever, Samuel French or whatever is available. And they can be like very famous scripts, like, I don't know, Crucible, Inherit the Wind, these kind of things. Or they can be like a bit more modern, more contemporary, maybe new. But yeah, the thing is, like, that's what we do, because like in Hong Kong is a very, it's a pretty commercial way to do theater. Do you want to fill up the theater? Then you do something like The Crucible, you do something like Dial M for Murder, you do something like 12 Angry Men, that will sell right away, immediately. If you do something more new, you got to take a risk. But sometimes I do take the risk, because if the story is so good and so compelling, then I want to go out there and tell the story and let people know that there is a great story out there that needs to be told. So when Christy and I actually worked together, we worked together in this play called Silent Sky, by Lauren Gunderson. And I watched the play in the absolute middle of nowhere in Vancouver Island. I kid you not, there was nothing there, nothing, zero. Not even like the lights, like the road lights, street lights. It was like dark, nothing. I was like, how do people even drive here? Like if the lights of your car are not strong enough, like you can't basically. So we went to this place where it's a beautiful place with shops and a nice restaurant, and we go for dinner, and then we go and watch the play. Right? At the theater, it's like stunning. It holds 300 seats, beautiful set, beautiful effects. Like, wow, that's gorgeous. And you wouldn't expect something like that to happen in the middle of nowhere in a small town in Vancouver Island. So, okay, so I buy the script, I bring it to Hong Kong, I talk to Christy, and I say, I think we need to do this. And of course, like, she was, Christy, she gets excited. So so it was like a great story. She did a great job. And that story was like very unknown, but it was like, we need to tell this story because it's about female, it's a true story about female scientists. And no one actually knows these women, and they did like some very consequential work for science and astronomy. We should tell their story. So yeah, I know I take risks, but some stories need to be told.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think you have to, and I think that's the great part. I think that's one of the reasons why I started to get into theater, because it's so much easier. I shouldn't say easier. Film is, I mean, getting into the film industry is just, you have to. And but as far as theater, you have more leeway. You have more. I think you have more openness with people, more regular people. Just more. I don't know. I think it feels more real, and I think it was. I would always write a screenplay. I mean, I don't have a problem with that. But I think theater would now, since I've learned what I've learned in the past couple of years, I think I just grow to love the theater more and more. It's I don't know why, but it's just maybe it's live, and like anything could happen.
Yeah,
Just at any given night, you know.
that's a good thing to love. That's why we're here.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's great. Michael, thank you so much for your time and for being here with us and chatting more about your projects and your work in CNC. And I really want everyone out there to watch It Is What It Is together with the other plays of COVID and cigarettes because they're awesome and you should. And
Yeah, awesome.
also, don't waste any time because they're on for another 3 weeks before they get put out. So there you go. You want to catch them within the next 3 weeks. So thank you so much. That was Nicole Garbellini speaking to Michael Donohue from the interview Diaries. Thank you so much.